oj, oj, Joschke fuhrt weg. Noch ein Kisch, noch ein Kisch, der Poest geht weg.
Klug ze niet in wijn, ze niets is als ding blotte. Ik wil zijn bij Fonien, der Erster in der Rotte.
Oi, 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 Joschke fuhrt weg. Noch ein Schuh, der Poest geht weg.
Amal as Gewen. Once upon a time, I got all choked up because some of you nodded. You knew what that meant. Once upon a time, Amal as Gewen. Once upon a time, there was a rabbi named Rabbi Jacob Krantz, and he lived in the 1700s in Poland, in Dubno, Poland, and he was known as the Dubner Maggid. A Maggid was a storyteller, a preacher, who traveled around enlightening people through stories. And he was known as the Dubner Maggid. He was walking along the banks of a certain river, explaining a point of Jewish tradition to one of his students, when all of a sudden the young man stopped and said, "Rabbi, tell me, how do you always know the right story to explain the subject being discussed?" The rabbi said, "I'll answer you with a story." A nobleman once sent his son to a military academy. The young man excelled at many things, but the sport in which he excelled at was shooting bullseyes. In fact, he had won many awards. The young man graduated, time had passed, he got on his horse, he went back to his village, and he saw along the way, on the side of a barn, someone had drawn 100 circles, and in the center of each was a bullet hole. The young man stopped his horse and he said, "Who has done this? Even I could not do that, 100 bullseyes." Now it happened that a little boy was passing by and he looked up at the young man on the horse and he said, "You don't understand. It's just Nar, our town fool." "I don't care who it is," said the young man. "I must meet him and shake his hand." "You don't understand," said the little boy. "Nar doesn't draw the circles and then shoot. He shoots first and then draws the circles." "And so it is with me," said the Maggid. "I don't always know the right story to explain the subject being discussed. I listen to many stories and I remember them. And when I have a story I want to tell, I introduce the subject that will lead me into telling that perfect story." And the Maggid and his student continued their walk. And so you see, in that story about stories, the Dubner Maggid is talking about mashals, little parables, little teaching tales. And I hope in my stories today, you also will find bull's eyes. People from Europe had tsuris. They had problems. And they thought it would get better when they came here, but of course it didn't always get better. There was a woman named Rivka. And Rivka went to see the Rebbitzin, the rabbi's wife, and she said, "Rebbitzin, you've got to help me. My life, I can't take it anymore. I stand all day in the market selling vegetables and my legs are swollen like melons. My children, they're filled with modern ways. I say this, they do that, and just when I got used to that, they do this. Rebbitzin, my life, I can't take it anymore." Now the Rebbitzin was a Chachama, a wise woman. And she was used to helping people, so she had Rivka sit down. She handed her a glass of tea to warm her stiffened fingers. And she said, "Rivka, I think I can help you. Go home and pack a pekl. Pack a pekl of your problems and bring it back here this afternoon." Now a pekl was a small bundle. And Rivka knew that jeder Yid hat sich sein pekl. Every Jew had a bundle of problems. So Rivka was thrilled. She thought her life would improve. She went home and she put all her problems into the pekl. And with great effort, she hoisted that pekl on her back, and huffing and puffing, she came back to the Rebbitzin's house. But something was different. She heard a lot of voices. Every woman in the shtetl had brought with her her own pekl of problems. The Rebbitzin had to quiet them down. "Shah, Shah, no, Rivka, you have the opportunity to exchange your pekl for any pekl in the room." Rivka was thrilled. She thought her life would improve 100%. She headed straight for the smallest pekla. But when she picked it up, It was very heavy. And when she opened it, it only had one problem. A small child was very sick. Rivka's children drove her crazy, but they were her heart. She wouldn't and couldn't do without them. She quickly tied that one up and put that one down. Then she decided to head for the lightest Pekl in the room. She tried them all, and she found that the lightest was also the largest. And when she opened it up, it was empty. It was filled with the vast emptiness of loneliness. Loneliness is a terrible problem. Rivka didn't want that problem, so she tied that one up. And that's how it went. Pekl after Pekl, Rivka tried them all. And none of them had any problems she wanted. And when the afternoon was waning and dusk came, all of the women made their way out of the little room, and only one Pekl was left. It was Rivka's, she was sure of it. But it was only half the size of when she had brought it. She went across the room, easily hoisted the Pekl on her shoulders, and with her load lightened, Rivka went home. Jeder Jid hat sich sein Pekl.
Oj, 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 Joschke fuhrt weg. Noch ein Kisch, noch ein Kisch, der Poезд geht weg.
Klug женит in wen женит, ist als Ding Blotte. Ich will sein bei